All right, so I just saw Barbenheimer. I saw Barbie and Oppenheimer. Did the double feature. I went with Oppenheimer first and Barbie second, which I think is the right move. I think Barbie is more of a comedy. It's more of a kind of a lighthearted thing. That when you're hour 4 and hour 5 into a double feature, I feel like it's easier to do the comedy at that point. Although I do double features pretty frequently because I have the AMC A list, so it's not that big of a deal for me. But if you're someone who doesn't typically do double features, probably recommend the Oppenheimer first and Barbie second. And I figured it could be a fun video. Let's compare the two. Which one is better? Barbie or Oppenheimer, because in many ways they're competing with each other, although in many ways, and probably in more ways, they're working with each other. It's become a meme with the Barbenheimer double feature. I do think that in many ways it's actually helped out both of the movies to be competing with each other as opposed to competing against each other. I think these movies would have done well regardless. They're both great movies. I highly recommend going to see both of them if they seem like your kind of thing. They're very different types of movies. So first I'll give some quick thoughts without doing any spoilers. Maybe we'll get into some spoilers later on, but comparing the two is a difficult thing to do because they are such different movies in so many ways. And weirdly, my criticisms of both are kind of a little bit similar. So let's start off with Oppenheimer and then we'll get on to Barbie. First, before we talk about Oppenheimer, I think we have to talk about Nolan. I've never been a huge Nolan fan, and I don't know, I try to typically be someone who says, hey, some things aren't going to be for you. Some things aren't going to be for me. If people enjoy Nolan, I'm going to let people enjoy Nolan. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh no, but I don't like him as much. I don't think he's as good as you think he is. At the end of the day, if you think he's good, he's good. I can't say anything about it. I do feel like there is a significant portion of Nolan fans online. I spend way too much time on those kind of forums. That can be kind of annoying. That's definitely a very real thing. The kind of people that will say he's this generation's Kubrick, which is annoying for several reasons. For one reason, there is no this generation's Kubrick. Kubrick is a one of one. There's never going to be another one like Kubrick. He's very much his own thing. Also, I don't love the even though I'm making a video about which movie is better, Barbie or Oppenheimer, I don't typically love the competition style of filmmaking, acting like what's better, talking about Nolan as being one of the the best or anything like that. He's one of the best filmmakers working today. I think that's fair enough, but I think a big part of why some of the online fan base can be annoying is it's just listen, he makes a lot of PG-13 movies, right? A lot of younger people he's their first exposure to actually good cinema. So I can understand why some people who I don't necessarily think it's people that like Nolan are the kind of people that are, annoying online, but the kind of people who are annoying online are probably more likely to discover Christopher Nolan at a young age and maybe because of that, be annoying in that way. At the end of the day, though, everyone's opinion is fair when it comes to art. If you like Christopher Nolan and think he's the best, that's cool. I think he's very good, but I've always kind of felt wanting something more in every single one of his movies. I've always kind of, Interstellar I loved, but I didn't love the ending. Even Inception I thought got too dialogue heavy and too exposition heavy, I should say. No issue with dialogue, but the exposition in all of Nolan's movies, including this one, can be a bit much at times and, always kind of bothers me a little bit. Just not my favorite style of writing. But what this movie did that a lot of the Nolan movies have not done, I feel like, and I've seen all of his movies, is be actually about something. It felt like it was, not to say that there hasn't been movies about something, but it's more than just a plot. And I think that with him adapting something, to me, I think this is just what he should do. He should adapt stuff because I think he's much better at kind of having a template to work with and then letting him do kind of his Nolan magic. The cutting between diegetic and non-diegetic things, usually he does all these cross cuts, but usually between two different scenes. And while there was a little bit of that in this movie, not much. It was usually he kind of cross cut between outer space and then what's happening. Some people I saw complained about the score and about how it kind of drowned out the dialogue. And what did happen, I loved it. I thought it was great. This movie does not exist without its soundtrack, without its score. and all of that stuff, not only soundtrack, but without the score and without the sound design, this is a completely different movie. The bomb sequence was legitimately awesome and absolutely worth seeing in the biggest screen you can find, in my opinion. I didn't see either one of these. I didn't see this at the actual playing on film because I didn't want to drive 2 hours to do that. But I saw it on the Dolby, the big giant screen at my local theater, and it was great. Had an absolute blast. I gave it a 9 out of 10 personally. I'll get into some more thoughts in a minute, but let's go to Barbie now. Barbie was first off, to talk about Barbie, I kind of have to talk about, like I did with Nolan, I gotta talk about my, how I view Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach. As you see here, huge Noah Baumbach fan. I have this Good and the Whale on Criterion. I have, I don't have Frances Ha, but that's one that's been kind of on the wish list as well. Gerwig did not write Squid and the Whale, but she was a writer on Frances Ha as well as The Star. I also loved White Noise, which is another Baumbach, alone movie. Huge Baumbach fan, but also a huge Gerwig fan. Lady Bird and Little Woman, I think, are both fantastic films. So, I was expecting to go in loving this movie, and I love this movie. Like, it's a movie, by some of my favorite filmmakers, and it did work. Now, was there some, kind of, as I said with Oppenheimer, there were some moments of clunkiness. There were some moments of the kind of the dialogue. It was on the nose, but it felt a little intentional. Like, I think that they just really wanted to make that point, and we're just not going to be subtle about it, which, okay, I kind of give my rating based on, how well did you accomplish the things you're trying to accomplish. It did feel intentional to me. Maybe I'm making excuses for some of my favorite filmmakers. I don't know, but that's how I read it. And while I think this is the case with a lot of, especially Baumbach's stuff, Gerwig hasn't quite done this as much, although she does as well. But, Baumbach's stuff is very much layered. There's never just one thing that's going on. There's the original story, but then there's so many different layers behind it, and that was definitely true in this movie as well. Listen, it is a film about the, patriarchy. That's the plot point. And if you're someone who can't handle watching a piece of art about that, then I guess this isn't the movie for you. But, I found it to be very fascinating and a very interesting look. And I didn't really seem to think of it as an anti-men thing, the way some people have, talked about it. Not many people, but there are, the Ben Shapiros of the world that were not a huge fan of this one. I'll get a little bit more into it in spoilers, but as a whole, I thought that it was a very, lighthearted and fun movie that I thought that had, again, more layers behind it than maybe meets the eye if you're willing to look for them, and kind of is deeper than people like to, than I feel like I hear some people saying, while at the same time still being a very just hilarious movie. I mean, it was genuinely hilarious. I was laughing out loud consistently throughout this movie. There were so many jokes throughout it. It was a beautiful looking movie. I loved the look of this film, and I also loved how it went in directions I wasn't expecting it to go. I thought I knew what movie I was watching, and then it diverged, and it did that several times, so I never really felt like, okay, when a scene started, I never felt like I knew how that scene was going to end. It's another 9 out of 10, so let's get into the comparison now. Those are my spoiler-free reviews of those movies. Now let's get into the actual, the thing that I titled this video about. Which movie is better? Again, getting into spoilers now, give a couple quick spoiler thoughts. I'll start off with Oppenheimer once again and then go to Barbie. But, so spoilers for Oppenheimer right now. I won't spoil Barbie until I tell you I'm about to. But yeah, so spoilers for Oppenheimer. I just felt like some of the, people have brought it up. People have brought up the female characters not fully sounding convincing. I kind of thought just the relationship in general was kind of not the best. Again, Nolan isn't typically the best at writing relationships. I think that he's, again, sometimes a bit of a clunky writer. It's one of his weaknesses as a filmmaker, and I thought it did happen in this movie as well. I thought that some of the, some of the dialogue was definitely, sorry, my the autofocus on my webcam freaked out for a second. But yeah, I definitely thought that some of the, some of the stuff was a bit off. Like, there was a scene where Oppenheimer comes home to Emily Blunt, who's like drunk after dealing with the kids all day, which is like a fine scene to have, but it just felt so out of place. There was no build up to that, and it was a lot of telling instead of showing, which I felt like happened a good chunk, especially early on in this movie. But again, the way that like the sound goes away during the bomb, like that nuclear bomb sequence was awesome. And I thought that all of the, the non-diegetic stuff, and what that means is like the not real stuff that it's cutting between, was all fantastic. The sort of the razor thin, focus of having like the incredibly low aperture to, allow that you can, like half of his face is in focus, half of his face isn't, was great. I thought all the performances were really good. Robert Downey Jr. was the standout for me. I thought that he, again, like I said, some of Nolan's dialogue can be clunky, and sometimes that's hard for an actor, but Downey had no issue with it. He was incredible in it. Everyone was great. Everyone was great. Performance-wise, Matt Damon had one yell that didn't work for me also, but these are nitpicks. Again, it's a 9 out of 10 movie. That's the reason why there's the 1 point off. And for Barbie, spoiler alert for Barbie at this point. Like I said, some of the the points were a bit on the nose. I also just didn't love I didn't think like the roof character fully worked for me, which didn't like ruin the movie, but like I kind of felt like, I don't know, for whatever reason, I felt like I wanted more there than we got. I liked the idea of it. It just didn't fully work for me, and maybe could have used another scene to really have it be set up instead of just the one scene early on and then the ending scene. Maybe like have, it open with roof or something like that. I don't know what you do about it. But again, I'm just saying, it didn't work for me personally. It's always easy to fix something. It's harder to make it, creatively. But again, these are nitpicks. I thought the acting was great in Barbie. I was blown away. So let's go through beat by beat, kind of thing we talk about by thing we talk about for the movie. Let's start off with director. What movie was better directed? And I think you could argue both sides. I do. Again, Nolan's directing style is very much kind of like shot, reverse shot in this movie, but then with the added non-diegetic stuff in, which how much that goes to directing, how much that goes to writing, how much that goes to editing, it goes to all of them. I am going to give the nod to Nolan on this one, although I thought Gerwig did a great job with Barbie. I don't think it's an obvious Nolan above Gerwig. You could argue either side, in my opinion. Writing, I'm always going to go. Just a little about me, unless it's Madagascar 3, if Noah Baumbach was a writer on a movie, I'm probably going to say that's the better written movie. I just, for whatever reason, his stuff hits super hard for me, and so does Gerwig stuff. So, again, they made movies I've loved, and the writing just, I thought it was hilarious, and while I had some issues with both, I think I had more issues with Nolan's writing than Baumbach and Gerwig's writing. So definitely giving the nod to Gerwig there. The acting, I think I'm going to also give the acting to Barbie. I think that it was there were very different performances, and again, they were all fantastic. None of this was poorly acted, but like, I don't know, if I had to rank my favorite performances out of these, I'm probably picking Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling as number 1 and 2 on that list. Probably Gosling 1 and Robbie 2, although you could flip them if you wanted to. That's kind of how I view it. So I think I would go acting for Barbie. As for sound, I'm going to go Oppenheimer. Again, that worked for me. The kind of fast-paced, score, the over-the-top nature of it, I was having a great time, personally. Although, again, the soundtrack in Barbie was awesome. I loved them both. And then for editing, I'm also going to go Oppenheimer. So I gave 3-2 to Oppenheimer. But which movie is better? What is actually better? I'm going to give a boring answer. I'm sorry, but it depends on what you want out of a movie. These are movies that I think pretty equally accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. Which movie am I going to revisit first? Probably Barbie, but it's a comedy. So, of course, you're going to watch a comedy more than you're going to watch a biopic. That's not, that doesn't really prove anything. So, I think that both are, great watches, and I highly recommend doing the double feature, 9 out of 10s for both. Let me know in the comments below, which one do you think is better? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.